Hello and welcome to another Blender tutorial. Today what I'm going to be talking about is Blender Jiggle Bones once again. The reason I'm making this video specifically is because I found a new way to make Jiggle Bones, which works even better than the last one because it uses soft body rather than cloth, so it's a little bit faster, and also you can actually apply sort of stiffness to it so it doesn't just flop over and not move or anything like that. So might as well kind of show you. Um, I set up one of these breasts with jiggle bones. And I know that might be a little bit weird, but there's too many hair bones to try to do in this one tutorial. And that would be something I would do in my own time, just spend a few hours trying to rig all that up. Um, but yeah, so I rigged up one jiggle bone, or I guess technically two. But I rigged up one boob, and in the video we're going to be rigging up the other one. And might as well kind of show you real quick what the advantages of having this other jiggle bone system. And if I just select this plane here, I could show you. So right here in the soft body goal, and actually I have a bunch of extra just junk on the screen. I might as well move this. This was for doing a little bit of like the facial animation stuff. It's kind of cool. I might make a tutorial on that. So here we have it sort of simple setup, and right here I can change the amount of stiffness, and I believe I leave it at 0.8 because it keeps it stiff, but also when you move around it kind of moves and doesn't just jitter. Because if I turn it up to all the way, you can come on, play the animation. You see it's just sort of like, it's almost like there's springs inside and it looks a little bit unnatural. So in some cases it might be a good idea to actually turn down the stiffness. But the only problem with turning down the stiffness, which you actually might have saw just now when I was messing with this, is that it'll go inside the model, and also if you move around a lot, wherever you weight painted, you can see it very clearly because there's sort of like a hard edge. So keep that in mind when you're messing around with the stiffness. Um, Let me just turn this back up to 0.8. There's also the goal settings, which kind of works like stiffness. It's like a different version of stiffness, I guess. Um, it's actually a little bit weird because since it's two bones, you can see that it sort of like bends in weird ways. I might end up just getting rid of the second bone. Um, but I'm assuming most of the people working on your own models will only have one bone, so you don't need to worry about that. So 0.9, I think. There we go. And so I guess might as well let's start working on the second bone, and I'll show you guys step by step on how to do it. So first off, what you're gonna want to do, you're gonna just put the come on, there you go. Just gonna put the cursor nearby. We're gonna add a plane and just get rid of two of the edges on the plane. So just select these two vertices, get rid of them. We don't need them. We only need this one sort of strand. And since it's just one strand, it's going to be even faster to render. So the only part that it's really going to be straining to render is your actual model. Because if you have a lot of vertices, then it could take a little bit more time because it's bending all of them. It's kind of like the cloth simulation sort of problem where the more vertices you have, the slower it'll be. So since I have two bones in my model specifically, that means I need three vertices. So for the first bone, you need two vertices, and then every bone that you add on top of that, you need an extra vertice. So just keep that in mind when you're messing about. And also, we want to make this origin point at the very like back of the of our little jiggle bone controller. So I'm just going to click Shift S and move the cursor to selected. Okay, yeah. And then we'll click Control Shift Alt C, and then we'll put the origin point to the 3D cursor, and that will just make it easier to move around, and also it will make it a little bit less kind of glitchy when you're messing around with it. When you have the origin point sort of off in the distance somewhere, it tends to cause problems, specifically with physics, because the center of like mass is like becomes different or something like that. I don't know. You'll notice if you've ever messed around with like rigid bodies, it kind of like goes through objects, kind of. It's a little bit weird. So let's now we need to line this up with the bones. So if I open up my bones right here, you can see that let me actually select the plane. You can see that the plane is perfectly lined up with the bones. And that's pretty simple. Since we only have a few bones, this shouldn't take too long. You just click Control S, cursor is selected, and then we just move this to the cursor. I have a custom keyboard shortcut set for this, just because it's a little bit easier for me. If you look right here, Shift Control Y, because I don't think that's used by anything else. And then I just have that on my mouse. I have a little button on the side, and I can just keybind whatever to it. So now we just do the next part of the bone. So cursor to selected. Oops. Select it. Cursor to selected. And then we go to edit mode and select the next vertice. And then select the cursor. And the last one. So we'll go back to the bones. Selection of cursor. And cursor to selected. There we go. And now our bone is completely lined up, and we can go back to our controller. I gotta remember this in my brain. I'll call this the controller because I don't want to call it like, you know, half a plane or whatever. So this will be the controller. These are the bones. These are the bones. This is the model. Okay. I just gotta remember it in my brain because I don't want to mess up talking about this for anyone, you know, who's like starting out and they'll be kind of confused. This is supposed to be a tutorial after all. So we'll put the cursor to selected right here, and we'll make a, what the heck is it? Empty, and then just a regular plane axis, and we'll make it 0.01, just so it's not taking up all this space. And then I can actually just Control Shift D, and cursor to selected, and then select the cursor. And for the last one, I'm gonna actually do the. I'm gonna show you guys how to do it again, just in case I don't want to confuse anyone. Shift S, selection of the cursor. And then here's kind of something interesting that I found out about while making the last, well, actually not the last tutorial, but a little while ago, is that when you select all these empties and then select your little your controller, and you parent them, you can actually parent to the vertex. So I believe it's to the nearest vertex. So if you look around, I can move this, and to test it out, I move each vertex individually. You don't have to do this, but this is just to make sure it's not parented. Oops, it's not parented to some other vertex that, you know, like, so if I move this one, this empty won't move up as well. It looks like it's working just fine. Oh, boob in my face. So I believe that's it for the actual controller. Now we just need to apply the soft body to them. And first of all, with the soft body, what you're going to want to do is add a new group. And just the same thing with the cloth physics is that we had a pin right here. And we're going to do the same sort of thing with this object. And so we just created a group, and we assigned only this one vertex right here. And then now we go to soft body, and I believe there's a vertex group right here. I'm still kind of trying to remember how I did this. It's a little bit confusing. Let me just look at this. Oh, okay, it's because I was in the wrong mode. Okay, so you can see it's a little bit, it's not working perfectly. I might click between these two just to kind of remember. Oh, okay, I see the problem here. So the default should be set to 1. There we go. So now this vertex should not move. It should just follow the model, but it should not actually jiggle itself. Everything else is just supposed to follow. 0.9, 0.8, and I believe I had dampening on here. Yeah, I had 20 dampening, and that'll just make it so it's not like shaking for a while, because that's not realistic. What was it, 20? Okay, I could stop animating that. And so you can edit all of these settings after we parent all the bones and all, like, basically after we do everything, we can always edit these settings afterwards. And in fact, we can also animate these settings. If you want, just insert keyframe, move a keyframe, and then insert it again, and you could change that, which is kind of cool. Add drivers and all that. A lot of cool stuff. Okay, so now we actually need to set the bones up so that they will follow these empties. So this is empty 5. Is that? That's not correct, is it? Okay, there we go. I was like, these are off center. That's not right. So I'll click. I have my beginning frame set to down. You can just click this button right here and it'll set you to the beginning frame. So what was it again? Empty 5 and empty 6. So we want these empties to be following, or these bones to be following these empties. So I will select the first bone in pose mode, and here's my lock tracks from the failed attempt of making this video. So let me do that again. Add the lock tracks. Have a lot of things, so I'll type out empty. So it's going to be pointing to empty 5, and we'll do that again. Now I explained in my last video why we're using lock tracks instead of track 2, and that is basically just so basically the bones like to spin around when it's track 2, and with lock track it doesn't, flip the model around. Actually, I can probably kind of show you right here. So if I go to track 2 and I click empty 6, not what we want. We don't want that twisting. That's like the most severe titty twister in the world. Well, actually, who knows? There might be some more severe ones. Okay. Empty 6, empty 6, and then we just set the second lock track to X. We just need Z and X axis to be locked. We don't need Y because I believe Y is what makes it spin. So we just X, Z, and X. And now it looks like it is working. The only problem is now we just need to actually connect this controller to the armature, because right now it's tracking it, but it's not actually sticking to the armature. So let me just put it back to its original pose. And what the heck is it? Right here. So just select this, go to your armature, and the thing is, don't parent it to this bone, because if you do, it's gonna follow this bone and it's just gonna flop around even more, and it's just not gonna work very well. So if I were you, I'd either whatever this bone is parented to, looks like it might. The heck is this? I'm not sure if this bone is supposed to be here. I'll leave it there just in case. But whatever this bone is parented to, you can parent it to that, or you can add another bone that this is parented to that just doesn't move, and parent it to that, because you just want a kind of stiff bone that this will be parented to, not the one that's jiggling. If I go right here to my armature, I have another. This was a SFM model, so I had a bunch of just random bones. These were all the original jiggle bones. And with the jiggle bones, there's the jiggle bone root, the jiggle bone, and then just the bone. So I can just set it to whatever, any of these other jiggle bones, because they won't be actually jiggling. So let me just select my plane, and then the jiggle bone, Control P, set parent to bone, and I believe that is all we need to do. Let me exit out of this. Go back to this original. Okay, yeah, I don't think this is supposed to be here, so I'll just get rid of that. Hopefully I didn't make some huge mistake. Okay, now let's look. There we go. So now we have some working jiggle bones. Each breast is individually controlled. It's just like what was that game? I'm trying to remember. I don't know. It was like some Dead or Alive game. and it was like one of the first games that had the individual jiggle bones for the breasts. Um, so I think that's pretty much it for this tutorial. Um, if you want, you could. Right now, by the way, I haven't. I think I said this in the last video, but if you hold down Alt when right clicking, it opens up this little menu, and I could select the plane. And since I have, you know, the bikini model, the player model, the bones, the empties, and the plane all in the same area, it's kind of hard to select the thing that I want. You can see how it might be kind of difficult. So it just gives you a drop down list of everything that your mouse is over, and you can just select what you want. Okay, so yeah, right here you can mess around with the settings. Dampening will basically, the more dampening you have, the less time it will take to stop jiggling. These goal settings, I don't think you really need to change the maximum because I don't think it's doing anything right now. I think the maximum is maximum amount of stiffness or goal strength, I guess it's called here, and the minimum is the minimum. And you want to keep the default at all the way 1, or else you'll get some problems. As you can see right here, this thing sort of falls down, and even if you turn up the minimum, you can see you can get some problems here. So keep this at 1, keep the minimum at like 9 if you want. You can turn it down more if you want it to kind of fall. Stiffness, pretty self-explanatory. Higher the number is, the more stiff it's going to be. The lower the number, the more kind of floppy it becomes. So I think that's about it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.